Now let's go to our second or third part, which is really, really an important part, which is the PMI mindset. Now, before going to PMI mindset, remember the exam has got a total of 180 questions. There are usually 170 questions, which are multi-choice questions with four choices, and you pick only one answer, okay? And almost five multi-choice questions with five choices. And here you can pick, or you must actually pick several possible answers. You need to pick them right. If you don't, then you just get it no mark for that question. And almost five drag and drop questions or hotspot questions, okay? No, that's just, an estimation, to be honest, all right? Now, it depends. Some people get, five drag and drop questions. Some people get just one drag and drop question. Others get almost eight drag and drop questions. So again, as I said, that's just estimation. But almost 170 questions or more, they're questions with four possible answers. Okay, there are actually four choices. Now remember, guys, remember all the questions in the exam are situational. So you will not find any definition questions. They're all scenarios, situations in projects. You need to figure out what's your role in that project. What's in which part of the project, in which phase, in which process. If it's a question about people, if it's about process, if it's about business environment, etc. So now that's why we're having this coaching to help you figure out, whenever you're reading a question, you need to figure out a few things. We will talk about them later. And, again, the most important things is when you're reading a question, you need to understand, is this waterfall question? Is this agile? Is this hybrid? And then in which part of the project am I? Am I in initiation phase, in planning, in executing? Am I in review, in retrospective, in a planning meeting? And then is this question about people, about process, about some tools, some technique? So you really need to figure out all of this in 1 second. Once you finish reading the question, you need to figure all that out, okay? Especially after you read all the choices, the possible answers. Remember, the questions in the exams, they're all really scenario based. They come from real projects based on the experience of project management practitioners from all around the world, okay? And the questions in the exam, they vary and they can be about different industries. Now, you can have questions in the exam about IT. No technical questions about IT, no, but just about IT projects. You can have questions about construction projects, about questions about, projects in the public sector, in the private sector, really any industries in banking, in pro bono projects, in non-governmental organization projects, NGOs, etc. Really, because this PMP certification is for any project management practitioner in any roles, in any companies, in any industries, in any country. Okay, so that's why you shouldn't be surprised if you see that there are several questions about projects with the public sector or projects with the non-governmental organizations, for example, okay? Because PMI is trying to diversify the scenarios, the types of projects. So the PMP exam, some people thought, oh, the PMP is for people only in IT or in construction. No, that's not true, actually. It's for any industry, really, and for almost any roles in any company, all right? So just remember that, guys. Now, if we would like to talk about the PMI mindset, now let me try to explain the PMI mindset in few bullets, okay? Even though we will go into details about the PMI mindset and the rest of the slides of this presentation when we will be seeing the tips and tricks for each performance domain or knowledge area, for example, right? Now, what will make your PMP exam easier is if you manage your projects according to PMI's best practices. Remember, now, practicing PMI recommended practices even before taking your exam, it will help you a lot, not just because it's best practices project management, but also it will help you, have that hands-on side when taking the exam. All right. And once you get certified, you would like to continue, practicing PMI's project management because, first of all, it's part of the ethics of the certification, and second, it's good to show how PMP certification really helped you bring your projects to success, right? When you're practicing project management, try to follow the process that PMI describes. Even if in your company where you work, you use different set of processes, try to narrow the gap between those processes at your company and PMI's processes. I recommend that you use the recommended tools and templates from PMI. For example, if you've never used stakeholder engagement assessment matrix at work, start using it. If you've never used a RASI matrix, start using it. If you're not really properly using a risk register or stakeholder register or project chart, start using them. For example, a power interest matrix, etc., etc. All those different tools and templates and techniques that we've seen, we really recommend you start using them because not only it will help you organize your work better, achieve better results, and a higher customer satisfaction, but also it will help you really succeed in your PMP exam in an easy way. All right. Um, um, Remember the practice questions that equip you with in the training presentation or in the mock exams. They will help you understand better the PMI mindset. Now, in our training presentation, we have almost 400 questions that which we picked really carefully. Some of the questions we picked them because they will help you understand better the technique the particular technique we're studying, or to understand the different scenarios you can have in the exam. You can always answer some questions based on your real life experience, but most questions in the exam are best to be answered according to what we have learned in the training. Now, some people, for example, they told me that um, uh, in their work and in their projects, they use different type of project charter. They have something that they call project charter, but it's really different. And they, showed it to me or sort of explained it to me, and I said that's actually not a project charter because project charter is usually one pager. It contains high level project information. What you've described to me, that's more of a project management plan, for example. It's a project management plan according to what they have described, or maybe it's a statement of work actually, more than a project charter. It was a statement of work, SOW, but they called it project charter, okay? And usually that creates confusion for them when they take the PMP exam because there are definitely questions about the project charter. Now, their understanding of the project charter at work is slightly different from the understanding or the explanation of PMI, and that could result, in answering the questions wrongly. So that's why we really recommend that no matter how you work, okay, or no matter what practices you have at work, if they're not aligned with PMI's practices, we recommend you try to, practice PMI recommendations, okay, according to PMI to PMBOK guide, because this will make the PMP exam easier for you. Now, I will go quickly through some bullet points that in which we try to explain PMI mindset. But remember, these are just high level bullet points about PMI mindset. The detailed explanation of PMI mindset actually we will see in the tips and tricks of each chapter from our training, and we will be seeing them later in this coaching program. Now, let me tell you about the project management, how PMI views it. Okay. Now, you as a project manager, PMI expects you to have business acumen skills, okay, as described in the talent triangle. okay, as we explained in the training, and understand that projects, they're part of the company's strategy and success. Now, projects need to contribute to the success and to the strategy of the company. And later in the tips and tricks, because you're lucky that in this coaching you will be seeing our tips and tricks version 2. Okay, we have shared version 1 with you guys. That was like a few months ago, but we made an update on the tips and tricks, and we will be using them in these coaching sessions. All right. So really, you must keep in mind that not that your project is not isolated from its environment or from its surrounding. Actually, your project is part of the company, and your project should contribute to the company's strategy and success. For example, if the company has set an objective of going 100% digital, okay, you cannot have a project, to create a library, okay, because the company decided to go paperless. So we cannot create, a new project, for creating a new library if the company wants to be paperless. Okay, so that contradicts with the company's vision and strategy. So you need to revise then the business case and project charter behind that project. Okay, and also your project is not isolated from its environment or the industry. So you always need to use benchmarking, check your industry's regulations, etc. Okay, now, okay, we will talk about regulations and compliance a lot in this coaching because it's a very important part of PMI's mindset. Okay, now the transition to hybrid or the transition to agile is very encouraged and very welcome. Okay, and the project manager needs to facilitate or lead that transition without backing off. Even if you have some pushbacks or some resistance, you need to use different persuasion techniques and soft skills. We will talk about that later in order to smoothen that transition because um, now we need waterfall to manage the projects or our projects, but a lot of our projects can be managed better with a hybrid approach or in agile mode. All right, now remember that, please. These are very important points from PMI mindset in the PMP exam. Now, you as a project manager, you need to take full responsibility of the project. Okay, of course, except in case of functional or weak matrix organization, where the functional manager is actually the one that is probably leading the project, managing the budget and the resources, or in situations that exceed your authority. But you as a project manager, you need to take full responsibility of the project. You need to be proactive. You need to apply fully the right action, and we will be talking about that in the tips and tricks of each chapter, and also we'll be seeing that in different practice questions throughout this coaching program. Now, project management is a function and is an art, is a discipline, okay, and is a science. And you, as a project manager, you must choose and tailor the approach that fits best or best fits the project needs and the interests of the initiators. Okay, so even sometimes in the same organization, in the same company, you can have 3, 4 projects at the same time, but not all those projects will be or those projects will not be managed um, uh, uh, be managed using the same approach or the same techniques or tools, because they can really, or each project might have different needs. Okay, so you are the one responsible for picking the project management approach or methodology. Okay. It is recommended that you, as a project manager, you learn different tools and techniques. Now, it's really, really important. Now, some people, ask the question, why do we need to learn all these techniques, and all those chapters? Because, we as project management experts, we're sure that you will need them one day or another in different projects in different organizations. Maybe now you don't need them in your organization or in your projects, but PMI recommends that you try to learn or at least have basic knowledge about all those tools and techniques, because which will be used in different steps or processes or phases of the project, because that's part of the ways of working, which is part of the PMI talent triangle. Okay, because once you find yourself in a new or different types of projects in a new industry or in a different industry, you won't get stuck. Okay, you will be able to manage that project properly. It happened to me, to be honest. It happened to me. You see, I started from the IT slash software slash IT, I started from the IT service management slash IT slash software industry with IBM for 6 years. Then I moved to the pharma industry. Then I moved to the automotive industry. Then the banking. Then the insurance. Then the cabling. Then the education. Then I probably worked in and then construction. And I probably worked in almost 20 industries. And that really, I was able to, succeed and manage my projects properly because I learned different tools and techniques as PMI recommends, and that helped me, to succeed in all those industries and different types of projects, different kind of stakeholders and environments, etc. All right. Using documentation. Now, again, we're still, explaining the mindset. Using documentation in the project depends on the project management approach. Now, Waterfall and Agile are not the same, but we cannot have a project without documentation. Even in Agile, there is a minimum set of documentation that need to be there or needs to be there in the project, and we explain that later on in the tips and tricks when we come to the Agile chapter. Okay, meetings are a very important part of the project. You as a project manager, you need to be a facilitator, organizer of these meetings. Meetings, they serve for different purposes, okay? And meetings, we use them a lot for example, clarifying or collecting requirements, clarifying ambiguities and doubts, resolving conflicts, etc. Okay, so really, meetings are an important part of PMI's mindset, okay? The project manager must apply the right skills and solutions, all right, in order to responsibly solve any situation in the project within the approved budget and costs and the resources, okay? But you are the one responsible for applying fully and rightfully any solution in order to resolve any situation, okay? And you need to have the right skills for that, and we'll be giving different examples later on, okay? The project manager, you as a project manager, you must be capable of managing the project with the allocated resources. Now, you have to, to work with your resources. PMI really recommends that you avoid adding resources, adding extra resources while the project is running. We will see that in detail later on in the team chapter, okay? But really, you need to work with the available resources, because the purpose behind this mindset is, a lot of project managers find it easier to hire additional resources or outsource work to, external resources, because that's an easy solution. No, PMI wants you to go for the solution with your team, spend some effort, find the solution for any situation, whether it's a workaround, whether it's resolve, whether it's a corrective action, etc. But you and your team need to, spend some effort, okay? And don't spare any effort resolving the different situations. So that's why PMI really wants you to avoid adding any additional resources or extra resources, because that will increase the budget and the cost for the project, and that's not welcome in the projects. You as a project manager also, you must avoid any situation that might indicate a conflict of interest or a wrongdoing, okay? Now, I remember back in the time when I took my PMP exam, there were probably 2 questions about wrongdoing or conflict of interest, and they were just straightforward. Now, the questions about wrongdoing or conflict of interest, they are still there and available in the PMP exam according to the PMI Code of Ethics, but they're asked in a new way. So when you read the question, usually there are a lot of questions in which there are wrong answers. We call them wrong answers or answers of wrongdoing. And you want to avoid that, okay? And we'll be seeing in the next sessions some types of these questions. Okay, we'll be seeing some types of these questions and how you know that this question is about wrongdoing. Okay, for example, obliging the customer to accept a deliverable even if the customer complains that it is not what they asked for. But no, still you try to persuade them and convince them to accept it so you can close the project. That's a wrongdoing, okay? Here you have a customer that is refusing to accept the deliverable. They say that it's not like what they have ordered or requested, so you cannot just force them. You don't force the customer or stakeholders to accept something they're not convinced of. So that's wrongdoing and conflict of interest. Also, still in the PMI mindset, you as a project manager, you must always prioritize assessing or analyzing a situation when it occurs, and whether the process is being applied correctly or not. Now, again, we will go in details in this in one of those tips and tricks later on, but and we have it even clearly described in this presentation. But assessing, analyzing, evaluating is a very important thing you need to do before taking any actions or before applying any corrective solutions or any actions, okay? Now, creating and delivering value is really the whole focus of project management, especially in Agile, and not just in Agile, okay? But really, the big focus and the main focus is on creating and delivering value. It is a must, and if there are any gaps, they must be treated, okay? And if there are any causes, they must be eliminated or fixed. I mean, causes for non-acceptance, for example, okay? Also in PMI's mindset, it's very important to comply with regulations, with guidelines, and also with any approval structure, okay? It's a must. You can always refer back to the governance, to the organizational processes, to PMO, etc. When you're managing the project, and compliance with the regulations or any guidelines, they must be always prioritized, okay? A lot of projects were rejected because they were not compliant. So also in the PMP exam, you'll see that there are a lot of questions about compliance, and we will prepare you to be able, to understand that part of the mindset and, answer all those questions correctly. Contracts and agreements, they must be respected and fulfilled by all the contracting parties, okay? We will see, different conflicting situations or different situations where some of the parties, they don't fulfill their part of the contract, and we will explain to you what you need to do. And we've updated our tips and tricks version 2 with more tips and tricks about this part in particular, okay? Success factors and acceptance criteria, they must be set up front from the start of the project, okay? Immediately when collecting the requirements, you as a project manager or the product owner in Agile, when they are collecting the requirements, you must collect the acceptance criteria with them. So you as a project manager or product owner of the team, you can deliver correctly what has been requested according to the requested quality and in a successful way, all right? I hope you guys are really noting all this. These are very important explanations of the PMI mindset and the PMP exam, and in the way of managing the projects, okay? You as a project manager, you must be capable of predicting and foreseeing different and various scenarios, and you can use the help of the experts in their fields, okay, and also the expertise of the team and of the stakeholders, all right? But you have to be proactive. Now, when we say capable of predicting and foreseeing, we're talking about proactive mindset, proactive approaches, okay? You don't sit there and wait for the risk to happen and become a problem, and the problem blocks you and the team from carrying on with the work. So you need to be proactive, and you need to be predicting and foreseeing any possible events that could happen, whether they could have a positive or negative impact, okay? When the plans are finalized, they must be baselined, okay, especially in Waterfall, and those baselines must be respected, and the project performance will be measured against them, okay? So baselining the plans is important because it sets let's say an agreement line between all the parties in the project, especially stakeholders, the team, and the project manager. And that agreement is to be respected, and is here for the plans is in the form of the baselines, the scope, whether if it's scope baseline, schedule baseline, cost baseline, etc. If you are unsure about the efficiency of a solution or of a step, then it is recommended that you perform a cost benefit analysis in order to convince the stakeholder about a certain solution or of the project itself, right? Or for example, if you're about to take an important decision, and we will detail that in a while or later on in the detailed tips and tricks. Okay, because this is just an overview. Okay, we're starting with an overview of the PMI mindset, but then we will have all the details and the tips and tricks. Okay, so always perform a cost benefit analysis if you are unsure about the efficiency of certain step or a solution. Please remember this, it's really important. Also, another part of the PMI mindset is that you as a project manager, you need to engage your stakeholders throughout the project, according, of course, to their power and interest. You must understand and respond to their needs properly and use a proper communication channel with them. So here we mentioned two different plans which are really important for dealing with the stakeholders. Communication plan, which includes the information you share, the frequency of the information, the format of the information, and the engagement plan. Engagement plan and communication plan, they're not the same. Communication plan, as I said, contains the information type, the details, level of details, frequency, format. Usually we're talking about reports or emails, etc. Meetings of also, but engagement, that's dealing with the stakeholders according to their power and interest. So you will prioritize your project stakeholders, and then we've seen in our training, if you have a high power, high interest level, then you need to manage them closely. A high power, low interest stakeholder, you need to keep them satisfied, etc., etc. Okay, so that's part of the engagement. Okay, so engagement plan and communication plan, they're complementary, but they're not the same. Also, it is very important that you manage the changes in the project effectively, because you as a project manager, you need always to expect changes, whether it's in Waterfall, whether it's in Agile, okay? And applying the right steps and processes depending on the project management approach. Again, as I said, whether it's Agile, whether it's Waterfall, predictive, or in case in a hybrid, in which part of the hybrid are you? Are you in the adaptive part, or are you in the predictive part? Okay, probably, yeah, 2 more slides to go, and then we take a break. Okay, yeah, 2 more slides. You as a project manager, you need to expect that there will be always disagreements and conflicts. They can happen all the time. So all disagreements and conflicts, they must be treated with seriousness, okay, in good faith, good intention, and with a win-win mindset, sorry, and you need to favor face-to-face communication, confrontation, or at least collaboration, because PMI really recommends that whenever there is a conflict, once you have analyzed the conflict, understood the root cause of the conflict, then you need to go for the direct approach, the direct communication, okay? Leadership is situational, okay? So you don't apply just one type or one kind of leadership. Actually, now choosing or picking the leadership type depends on the situation, on the person or the persons you're dealing with, and also on the phase of the project. Also, leadership is part of the power skills, which is the third skill in the talent triangle. And you as a project manager, you need to be equipped with different leadership techniques in order to deal with people of different personalities and different backgrounds, because you need to remember that you're dealing with people, whether it's stakeholders, whether it's the team, and they all have different personalities, expectations, and backgrounds. Culture, also there will be cultural differences, and you need to take all of that into consideration, and you might need to use here some emotional intelligence. You as a project manager, you cannot succeed alone, so the project success doesn't depend only on you. Actually, you must have your own, or you must form your own collaborative, cross-functional, and well-organized team according to the chosen approach. You need to follow, the practice of the predictive, if you've chosen it, as an approach for the project, or you need to follow the practices of Agile if you pick the adaptive approach for the project. Work can be performed on-site or remotely, so it is the new normal in PMI's mindset to have remote people, okay? And there are different technological tools, different technologies available, to support remote teams. So we don't exclude, people who prefer to work remotely, because, that's a new normal, right? Now, also you as a project manager, you need to guarantee and ensure the development of your team, okay? That they improve their skills, their ways of working. So team development is really essential for the project success, and all the team members, they can succeed in their work with help, with mentoring, with guidance, with coaching from the project manager, or from experts that you as a project manager assign to the particular team members to help them with improving their skills. Okay, so please remember that you as a leader, you need to guarantee that. All right. It is also recommended that you plan the work and the deliverables in a way to find out early if the objectives are being achieved. Now, that's why PMI is really focusing a lot in some of the questions in the exam on creating an early version of the product. We can call it an MVP, we can call it a prototype, okay? But that's really an important part of PMI's mindset, because it will help you as a project team to find out whether we're doing the right thing, we're delivering the right or the expected product or increments, and it is really part of the PMI mindset in the way of managing the project. Okay. Also, in the PMI mindset, sharing information and being transparent is important, because it will help everyone involved know and assess where the project stands, okay, and make sure that the information is accessible. The right level of information to the right people, all right. But you need to practice transparency and information sharing using different information radiators and tools such as Kanban and others, okay. Then point 27 in the PMI mindset, you as a project manager, you must be capable of knowing the project performance at any moment. That means you must be handling your project effectively, and whenever a stakeholder asks you about the project status, you should be capable of answering and providing the status as is, or a status in the T moment. All right. And if necessary, you can take any preventive and corrective actions. So actually, we will go back to this in the measuring performance, and the tips and tricks of the performance measuring chapter, and we will be looking at different tips and tricks for the PMP exam. Also, in the PMI mindset, there can be audits. So audits must take place during and after the project. Okay, auditing the proper application of the processes, or also auditing the efficiency of the project as a whole to ensure adherence to the processes, guidelines, and rules. All right. And the last point in the PMI mindset is closing the project. So project closure activities, they must be done and administratively correct. All right. They must be done in a correct way and in a correct administrative way. Okay. Now, in these 30 bullet points, we try to summarize on a high level PMI mindset, and of course, we will have all those 12 chapters after the break, in which we will go through, details in the tips and tricks of each chapter. So we will take a break now for 10 minutes, and then we will start with the general tips and tricks right after the break.